Get started, Mom. I'm gonna give you a little time here, and then we'll rock. Welcome, everybody, to the Mid-Level Show. I am your host, Ben Rogers, and today I'm so excited to have Amber Butler back on the show. She is our nurse practitioner in the Kingsport office. Amber, before we get started, how you doing? How's your holiday season so far?
I'm doing well. It's exciting. As some viewers don't know, we're expecting our fourth, so I'm at the halfway point, literally in a week. So that makes Christmas extra exciting.
That is so amazing. We're so happy for you guys and your family. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. And speaking of holidays, we were talking before we hit record, and one thing you really wanted to address today was, quote unquote holiday blues. And when you said that, it's so funny. My head went to, man, I feel the holiday blues on the night of the 25th when everything's over and and all of a sudden I know Christmas is done. Tell me what you meant by holiday blues, because I have a feeling that it might be different.
Well, actually, that can be. It can be like kind of after things that just solemn feeling of finality and that like all this anticipation is over. More specifically, at first, my mind was kind of thinking. We talked a lot about anxiety the last time, and I was thinking about talking about depression because you hear so many people say through the holidays it can be one of the most wonderful times of the year, or it can also be a very hard time, especially if you've lost loved ones or, around that time, or maybe this is your first holiday without a loved one, or maybe it's just altogether a difficult time for different reasons. And so I was thinking about depression, but then when I started to do some research, I came across a totally separate, not really a mental health disorder, but called the holiday blues. And
Yeah.
so I learned, so that's why I was like, I want to share that with some people because I could resonate without the actual mental health diagnosis. I could resonate with some of the characteristics of the holiday blues.
Well, I wonder, and this could take you totally in a different direction, but I was talking with a friend the other day, and he was telling me that, the weather and how dark it gets. It gets dark at 5, and does that have any impact on the holiday blues that you're talking about?
So that's a very good question. And so, kind of what you're referring to is another sect of mental health called seasonal affective disorder, which can link right into the holiday blues because it's all a seasonal thing. The SAD or SAD usually starts earlier in the holiday blues. Typically, when I was reading it, it's going to run from like November-ish, like end of October, November through New Year's, and then
Okay.
you're going to see some progress once all of the, because it's more about stress, depressed mood, anxiety during that specific season. Seasonal affective disorder begins when the seasons change in fall. The days get shorter, and your rhythm, your circadian rhythm gets off, and you see more of the depressed mood, specifically exactly what you were talking about with the shorter days and the change of seasons.
Do you think, going back to seasonal, blues, seasonal depression, and now that we're in this holiday season, are you saying that a lot of it has to do with, whether, maybe some loneliness kicks in, maybe like you said, you've lost a loved one and you're not sharing, like there's some memories there. What have you seen, in your practice, kind of regarding this? Because it's such a real thing. Even just hearing you talk about it, I can totally see, all that you're saying. Even as we get older, the holidays are different. It seems to change all the time. And so how can we be proactive against that, and and kind of go from there? Maybe you can just riff on that.
Then it is like you read my notes because a lot of what you're saying, loneliness and dissatisfaction were the two. When you look at the increased feelings when you're talking about holiday blues, which I need to step back and say is different from depression, a mental health disorder that is a persistent depressed mood, a loss of interest in your daily activities, difficulty getting out of bed. You're going to see a change in your sleep pattern, a change in your appetite, a change in your energy level. And, that's going to be a different category, with probably some more aggressive treatment. Holiday blues is going to be increase in a sense of pressure, sadness, anxiety, depression, stress, sadness, dissatisfaction, and loneliness or financial strain. But the two most common feelings were dissatisfaction and loneliness, as you were saying. So, and then I found a statistic interesting that 40% of people, and this is just a general statistic, experience social anxiety around the holidays. And some of those feelings that I was just listing, as you mentioned, can come from a sense of loss, a sense, the dissatisfaction of things changing and they can't be like they were. This person's not here. This person can't come, or there's a change in your traditions, which makes it hard to cope with. So I did write down some tips for coping for those holiday blues, that increased stress, anxiety, or just feelings of depression. I've talked to people and they're like, I hate this time of year.
Yes.
And you love it. You love the Christmas lights and the hot cocoa and things like that. But they're like, I just can't wait for these holidays to be over with.
It's such a real
And
thing. Yes.
yes. And so some tips that I had written down were, acknowledge your feelings. Acknowledge that, okay, this is stress. There's stress that comes with the holidays. Reach out if you're lonely or isolated, especially, reaching out, finding community. I know it's difficult right now. I mean, we're in a very ever changing society
Yeah.
with the coronavirus, and holidays look different, gatherings look different. Um, that leads to the third thing: be realistic. Traditions change. People get married. People move. Distance changes. Different things. Plan ahead. This is a big one for me because I am a planner, and so it doesn't mean you have to have Christmas in July, but get yourself a timeline as far as, I know I'm going to be stressed out if I put all my shopping off till the second week of December.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a timeline together and try to start early. And on that note, stick to a budget. The financial strain can lead to a very quick slope of just depression and anxiety and stress. So stick to a budget and stay to it. Take a breather was another thing. Give yourself time for yourself to just de-stress. Um, Stick to healthy habits. Sometimes the holidays are a free for all, and we end up saying, I was doing so good, but Thanksgiving coming, then Christmas, and it becomes this, once again, a snowball effect, winter reference. And so you see that you actually feel worse. It can actually exacerbate some of those feelings when you do kind of just forsake all your healthy habits and start a free for all in eating and drinking. Um, Learn to say no. That's not as hard, I don't feel like, right now, because I don't know about you, but my social calendar, lots of parties have been canceled and there's not a whole lot going on. But and obviously, if this did become something that is affecting your daily activities, seek professional help.
Those are amazing suggestions, Amber. And one thing I really connected with, and I'm sure you noticed this as well. A week or two ago when we had Thanksgiving, the gatherings and the way we do things, right now has changed, and there's really nothing we can do about it. And I think even the way our family did Thanksgiving was different, and it felt different, and I can see how that can affect. It can affect the way you feel about the holiday. It can make you feel like, man, things are different, and it's probably very similar to the feeling of loss. And so what's interesting right now is that we're all going through it. It's not just it's not just the person over there, or that city up there. Like it's all of us, and we're all affected. And I think it's really important for all of us to go to that list that you just mentioned, and really kind of focus on them, because that'll allow you to feel more in control, I think, and it'll give you a sense of is it a sense of control? Is that kind of what you feel when you make that budget, when you kind of set some constraints around, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do that? Because I mean, with as families get bigger, things get more complicated. You can't please everybody, but you want to. What's kind of your thoughts on that? Just because I know that everybody's going through it right now. There's the mom you can't see this holiday season. There's the grandparents you can't see. I know my mom hasn't seen her mom in almost a year. I haven't seen her, and it was my grandmother in the same amount of time. Like, it's really, it just changes the way you feel. And is there, can you kind of just riff on that a little bit as far as, making it super contextual to, 2020?
Yes, and everything you said, I do think it has to do with control and having a sense of, like you were saying, being proactive and taking control of the things that you can. There's so much right now we can't control. And so making a list or making a budget. Another thing that I think really helps, because, we always say, as a man thinks, so he is, the mental, if we can, in the middle of being so overwhelmed, or if you're just feeling really down, is focus on the blessings, focus on the positives, because there's always some, like, even though there's bad things that have happened, and maybe something that you're going through, there's always something positive that you can dwell on, instead of thinking and always focusing on the things that have changed. And that's kind of that, I guess, that going back to that, being realistic, but being optimistic and thinking about the positives instead of focusing on the negatives will really impact your personality and, how you feel. And so that's another big challenge, I would say, to people, or to myself, even in the midst of that loneliness or sadness or stress, to focus on the blessings.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one way I look at it is, instead of looking at, man, we don't get to do this or we have to do that, changing that narrative to, man, I get to do this. Like, I think for a lot of the family that we might not be able to see, we can connect in other ways. We can, shoot, I haven't written a letter in the mail in a long time, and, maybe this is an opportunity to, sit down and write a letter to your grandmother or something like that, that I know that, she would appreciate. And then you kind of get that fulfillment from that, in place of, maybe getting to have dinner with them, where we normally meet and stuff like that. So I think you're right. I think, the list that you're talking about really just gives us, the positives to focus on. And, say you do make a budget, reward yourself for meeting that budget,
Mm-hmm.
reward yourself, like, man, I did this, and, we did it in a responsible way. And I found this great deal, things of that nature, are so cool and fun. And you can kind of make it almost a game,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, especially you, because of your business side. So you could definitely make a game of the financials, I'm sure.
yeah, it's just a really interesting concept. And is there any other, tips and advice to help people, really have the best holiday season ever, in spite of, the circumstances? And, certainly, I say that with complete, this has been a terrible year for everybody, and even worse for a lot of people. What's kind of your thoughts on, okay, we've got, the rest of this year, we've got, 30 days left, 32 days left, 31 days left, 32 days. There's no 32-day month, Amber. What can we do? Like, is there any, like, parting advice that you would give to our listeners?
Well, I want to say that my attitude has definitely kind of been a pendulum. So I have moments where I'm like, why is everything changing? And I'm kind of throwing a pity party. And I think managing our expectations, I keep thinking January 1 is going to be like a totally new, like, everything's going to go back to normal. And that may or may not happen. So focusing on the positives that we have now. I have heard, as far as the immediate family unit, as who's living in your home, that has grown stronger
Yes.
and gotten stronger bonds because of the lack of being able to go and be so busy. So I think just focusing on the positives. For me, remembering that God's in control, and
Yeah.
remember the reason for the season, and just being thankful. That attitude of gratitude can really go a long way, and that's a good reminder for myself as well when I don't feel like being grateful.
Well, and yeah, thank you for saying I mean, that's for all of us. Let's, live in gratitude. Make sure we focus on the things that we're super grateful for. And I'll add, I think exercise, and I know you're a huge proponent of this, Amber. Exercise is huge this season, and that's one of the things that we could, kind of forget about because we're so busy with shopping, with getting out holiday cards, and all the responsibilities that we have. Let's don't forget about exercise, because exercise is a natural mood lifter, in my opinion, in my life. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that, and I know it's a big part of your life as well. So I would encourage everybody to set aside time every day to go for a walk, get outside, do something active, because that'll help us get through the holiday blues if we're in them, and hopefully get out of the holiday blues.
Well, and also on that note, as far as taking time for yourself and, that sense of healthy habits, exercise, stick to your vitamin regimen. This
Yes.
is the year where it's like all wheels off, because, like you were just saying, it kind of all snowballs and you get out of your routine, but stick to your vitamin regimen. And, we do have some natural mood boosters, at Performance Medicine, their life extension, to help, if you really feel like you're just in a funk and you can't seem to like get yourself, out of the stress or depressed mood, things like that. So stick to your vitamin regimen. Make sure you've got vitamin C, vitamin D going on, zinc. And then if you need to add a mood boost, we have some options for that too that are all natural and bioavailable. So.
Well, speaking of gratitude, I am super grateful to get the opportunity to talk to you on this show. This has been so much fun for me. This is a regular time we get to talk, and I'm super, super grateful for that. And I cannot wait for our next mid-level show with you on it. And I'm looking forward to 2021, and as I know, everyone is. But also, I'm looking forward to this holiday season. It's going to be a great, next couple weeks, and I hope you and your family have a blessed one. And as always, we're going to see you. We're going to see you shortly back on the Mid-Level Show.
Yes. Merry Christmas, Ben. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you and yours, Amber. Guys, to the listeners out there, thank you for listening. This has been the Mid-Level Show. You have been with Amber Butler, our nurse practitioner in Kingsport. Thank you, Amber. Thank you to everyone listening. And as always, we will see you next time.
Bye.